Welcome back to the STP essay, parts 12 and 13, originally found on the Facebook Men on the Border group. So if you have a Facebook account, why not go over there and show them some love? Here we go with the STP essay, part 12. George and Patty Harrison made a visit to San Francisco on August 7th, 1967, and gave an important testimony. Arriving with high expectations, flown in a private Learjet, they thought it would be fun to go and have a look at Haight-Ashbury. Some LSD was brought out in the limo, and at first it was just, whoa, psychedelic and it was just completely fine, but then Patty explains, we were expecting Haight-Ashbury to be special, a creative and artistic place, filled with beautiful people. But it was horrible, full of ghastly dropouts, bums, and spotty youths, all of them out of their brains. Everyone looked stoned, even mothers and babies. And they were so close behind us, they were treading on the backs of our heels. George remembered it the same way. I could only describe it like being out in the Bowery, a lot of bums and dropouts, and many of them very young kids. Mama Cass Elliott had earlier in the summer phoned the Beatles and said, "Watch out, there's this new thing going around called STP. George never took STP, but nonetheless had a life-changing experience." Patty tells this story. We got up and walked back towards our limo, at which one point I heard a little voice say,
"Hey George, do you want some STP?
George turned around and said, "No thanks, I'm cool, man." Then the bloke turned around and said to the others,
George Harrison turned me down, man.
and they went, "No!" And then the crowd became faintly hostile. We sensed it because when you're that high, you're aware of vibes. And we were walking faster and faster, and they were following. When we saw the limo, we ran across the road and jumped in, and they ran after us and started to rock the back of the car, and the windows were full of these faces flattened against the glass looking at us. George later explained that was a turning point for me. That's when I went right off the whole drug cult. George had experienced how the people in Haight-Ashbury got really fucked up. It made me realize this is not it. And it's really when I went for the meditation. Part 13. The dark ending of the summer of love. August 1967 was a dark month. Black uprisings had spread across the USA and left many people dead. Later in the month, Brian Epstein would die, and the Beatles collectively and individually would go through many changes. Things would never be the same. And in San Francisco, the bright promise of a summer of love had all too quickly been replaced by damaging drugs and despair. The August issue of the San Francisco Oracle spent 2 pages to discuss STP and whether it was additive or subtractive. The same month, the band Holy Modal Rounders wrote the STP song with lyrics that spoke about drugs in a different way compared to with what had been the norm earlier. Once a friendly stranger said to me, "Hippies call it STP. You're a friendly stranger, I can see. Take a whiff on me. Have a revelation. The first one's free. Soon you'll be addicted to eternity." The summer of love had ended. The flower power of hippie revelation was ebbing out. The Diggers, a radical group based in San Francisco, would soon stage the death of the hippie event, a mock funeral. This happened on October 6th, only 100 days and a week after the summer solstice, and 1 year to the day after LSD had become illegal. People would burn their hippie artifacts, and that burnt out symbolism was telling in several ways. When the Monterey Festival was held in mid-June 1967, the Doors were probably considered too dark to fit in the bill, but already by October, when their second album Strange Days was released, the mood of their music and the lyrics seemed to capture the times perfectly. What a change. Perhaps by now it could be agreed that STP was in fact subtractive. August 1967, a dark month in many respects, not the least within Pink Floyd. More about that later. Thank you for joining me for the STP essay originally found on the Men on the Border Facebook group. Please join me. There's going to be many more episodes. This essay has 36 parts, so we'll continue to plow through this information. And I would encourage you to share this information. You don't have to share my videos. Honestly, I really could care less about stuff like views. I make these videos pretty much for myself. This, on the other hand, it seems to really carry quite a bit of significance to me that this story has been ignored, that we hear about LSD, but we do not hear about STP, and there is a reason for that. And the reason is because STP was a chemical weapon that was knowingly unleashed upon the Haight, and it had a significant role in ending this brief shining moment in our history where it almost seemed like we had a chance. I'll see you for part 14. Peace.